Live.
Okay, so we're live.
Okay.
Yay! Okay,
Yeah.
it's all you now. And I will send you the link so you can sign it in.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I'm sorry, it's all you.
I'm sorry. Give me half a second. I just got to check this.
No worries. It's going to be one of those days.
Hopefully we'll iron everything out today. So.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Benjamin, I only see a black screen when you're up. I don't know if you know that.
I do see that. I don't know why.
Okay.
And
Yeah. All right. Okay, thank you. No problem. Bye. Oh, sorry. It's a job that I do.
No worries.
Everything else. Okay. Okay.
I called this broadcast Group 2 Discussion 1. Am I wrong? Is it Group 5? We're Group 2, right? I'm so lost sometimes. I get so messed up in my classes.
I'm on a group chat.
We were asked to find a name for the group. Huh?
Even if we mislabeled it, I think he'll forgive us. I'm not sure what group we are.
kind of a mess today, but okay. All right, Benjamin, I'm sorry. I've kind of taken over your time, so you do your thing.
No, y'all are good. Y'all are good. I'm sorry that y'all can't see me. I've clicked on everything that I can try to find. On the previous thing, it didn't want to show me either, so I guess it doesn't like me today.
You're kidding. I would do that too if I could.
Y'all forgive me. So, do y'all want to start with the doohickey or the varsity team case first?
That varsity team case is a lot simpler. Let's start there.
Okay. It's less dramatic.
Yes.
Maybe not.
Also,
maybe
we have a couple weeks to do the doohickey one. I don't know if since we're a little bit short on time now, maybe we could set up another time to talk about the doohickey case. Just an idea.
That'll be fine.
What has to be done by
That'll be
week? Let me see. Yeah, aren't doohickeys every 2 or 3 weeks?
I think it's like 3.
Yep. 5 is the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that then. I thought starting off, it was really interesting to see that they presented a case where the coach was not perfect and kind of hopefully he learned and changed himself through the experience. And the quiz kind of helped me to see what we're, kind of trying to or supposed to learn from it. Some of the things I didn't think about. Did anything stick out to y'all from the quiz or from the case, I guess, before we really dive into it?
I felt like the coach was the first thing I noticed obviously was that they did not have a team. They just had a bunch of individuals that were rowing together. So and I feel like that's the coach's fault. The coach really needed to step up and make them a team.
Yeah. He liked to choose the strongest as an individual and didn't really think about the team aspect of it. And then when the people who maybe weren't the best individually worked together really well. They were faster than the group of all the individuals who were naturally more talented or maybe even physically stronger. There's some questions I guess that we're kind of given that we can go through it. The first one is, did the varsity members engage in too much conflict, and what was the conflict about? What do y'all think?
So I felt like there was the individuals wanted to the discord and the blame was all based on the fact that they all thought that they were carrying the team. They all thought that they were doing the whole thing. There was no there wasn't that team unity, obviously, as we've talked about, but it was for self-aggrandizement. They all wanted to focus on how much better they are. And in the case study, it talks about just even a little bit off, everybody can feel it. And so it makes everybody feel like they're working harder. And so it probably is a coach issue to some extent, but the breakdown should never have gone that long, you know? He should have made changes way earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember that one time in the case where there was, I guess he was one of the leaders or maybe one of the strongest, and he was putting down on the weakest. I think that was definitely one of the situations where there was too much conflict. What about you, John? Did you what stood out to you about that?
Yes, I was trying to get to where the elements of sources is talking about. In fact, I made to understand that we can actually have individual way of doing things, like individual skills and the teamwork. And we found out that as we continue to be in that of a teamwork, I think we can be able to achieve so many things that individual skill, individual capacity or ability may not have. It just means that if individual can do it to that extent, I mean the team can make it double, as we talking about. So it's just an interesting that we can combine individually to achieve what we want to achieve. I mean, I love this topic, and I believe we can learn a lot from there. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a good thing for all of us to remember, that we're all part of a team, you know, where we work or in our families. And sometimes we kind of want to take, you know, more credit, but we all have our individual strengths and weaknesses, and we kind of support each other. And that's something that the this team didn't really have. It kind of goes on and it asks us, is there appropriate place for conflict between the members of the team?
I think there has to be. There has to be an appropriate place, because there's going to be conflict anytime you put two people in the same room. So there has to be some place where it's appropriate. There was a lot, like John said, criticizing of each other's individual problems instead of looking at what they were doing as a team that needed to be fixed. And yeah, they needed to have a place where it was safe to talk about those things and to resolve those things as a team. Individually, that needs to be taken care of in a different way, but as a team, yeah.
But I think that's one of the things that should have been taken care of so much earlier in the season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
By the time they got to the point, I mean, it was an explosive thing by the time they actually started airing their grievances, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, John? What did you think?
Yeah, come again.
Oh, I was asking you what you thought, if it's okay to have conflict, or how should we go about addressing kind of conflict between team members?
Yes. Just as one of you said, we actually have to know that even if you put two people inside one room, it's always going to be a conflict. Movement and the way we've started, we can actually feel that becoming an HR is your duty to start resolving those conflicts among the co-workers. You always have to, think about what is going on and how you can be able to settle the case. It's just like what you can bring on board is actually going to give each and everyone which is involved in that conflict to calm down. It is not always easy that people will love what you are saying, but at least you have that skill, you have the capacity to make sure you settle the case for both of them. So it's going to be wonderful. I'm actually learning to know how I can put all these things into practice someday.
Good. That's great.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. What stood out to me is in the case, the junior varsity, they would address the problems kind of in general. They wouldn't, like, I guess, call somebody out or focus on the individual. They'd be like, we need to row more in sync with one another, or we need to be faster, and then everybody would kind of take that as they needed to improve, instead of, I guess, kind of fighting or picking on one person. And it also talked about, I think this connects with it, in the junior varsity, in general, you had to make sure when one person row or made a movement that was out of sync, the other person had to make sure that they didn't overcompensate, that they just had to make sure, or continue doing the same, and allow the other person to fix their own mistake. And I think it's
I thought that was really interesting. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Go.
I thought that was a really interesting part, that with 8 rowers in the boat, if one person makes a mistake, instead of trying to fix it, instead of you trying to be like, I can do something to help him or fix that problem that he did, you just have to continue and do exactly what you've been taught to do, and so that he has a chance to kind of get back on track. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at general, is that that's kind of how we support each other, is to just continue to do what we know is right while somebody else works hard to put themselves back on track.
Yeah, I agree.
A little bit of a gospel lesson there, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you. I guess we can jump to the next one. It says, what role did trust play in the problems that the varsity crew faced? Maybe that's a good point we just left off on.
Yeah. You have to trust that somebody else is going to continue to do what they're doing, and that gives you a chance to improve what you've done wrong.
I think as each member of the team, they said at the end that they each felt like they were pulling the weight for everybody. They were carrying it for everybody. That showed that they were out of sync because they were trying to compensate, So I think as individuals, they needed to fix the fact that they all thought that they were, making up for everybody else's shortcomings, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of trying to nitpick some of these other thoughts or questions. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. Is trust in the team the same as trust in the individual team members?
I don't think so.
I think it kind of depends. In this particular case, it may be because there was so much discord, nobody trusted anything. I think it's hard to trust. I think it's hard to have trust in the team if you can't trust them as individuals. So it kind of just depends.
I agree with that. I also feel like the group taken as a whole can be trusted in that situation. If you have a personal relationship with one of them, maybe you trust them more. Or if you know that one of them is a cheater in school or in real life, then it might not have, you might not trust them as much. But if you take the team as a whole, I think that there can be trust there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, and I think it would be good and make everything a lot faster if we trusted the team and I guess trusted everybody as an individual because of that, and then essentially give them the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we go the other way around, where we have to trust the individual, like every single person, every single person we hire or work with, before we can trust the whole team or the whole system, it just makes everything so much slower.
Yeah.
And then maybe it makes a little favoritism if you do that too.
I think trusting each individual, sorry, I just had another thought. I think trusting each individual individually would make a stronger team trust. Absolutely. But I agree that trusting them, if you take them together as a team, it's possible to trust the whole team without trusting them individually.
Yeah. There's so many different aspects of that. Like, I was kind of talking about the culture, but it is interpersonal too.
Sure. And also, one of the things that was talked about was that this isn't just a college team; they're military, and so they're ranked in a military, and so there are more senior. There are members of the team who are more seniorly ranked, which would cause real problems if they're the ones making the issues for those that are not who are outranked militarily. That can be a huge issue and cause a lot of mistrust. So I think that puts even another spin on the whole issue of why their team isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting that when they talked about that the JV team didn't want to be part of the varsity, it would have been more prestigious, but they didn't want to be involved. There was obviously some factors in there that were creating issues, and they didn't want to be part of that. So even though the more prestigious position may have been open, they didn't want to switch. They'd rather be in a team that's working than in the more prestigious boat.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, that is a good point. It kind of shows that they weren't really looking for, praise or ambition or anything like that. So,
which is totally the whole point of why that boat was working.
Yeah. Let's see. Here, what's another one? What y'all think about when the coach decided to switch out the JV members with the varsity, like kind of, play around with, who's in the team, or even when they did the couples or the duo.
Oh, right. When he was trying to figure out why the team wasn't working, why varsity wasn't working, and he was switching out couples in each boat. And I thought it was really interesting because I felt like Angela, right? Like Angela was saying that they didn't want to be in the varsity boat because of the problems that were there. And so probably when he's switching them out, there's probably a lot of issues there too. Just feeling like, well, I don't want to be in this boat with, these crazy people that aren't working well together. So I think, and I know we've said this, but he just waited too long to take care of the problem. The coach just waited too long to take care of it. And, now they're at a point where it's a, do or die situation, and he doesn't have a team. So it's interesting to see what happens next.
Yeah.
So what I'm also thinking is that, so is it always just like if this one is having a problem, you can only just switch to another one instead of maybe trying to
Fix it.
get the program solved? I mean, that is what the coach was trying to imagine, that if the varsity, you know, both is doing it's not doing the right thing, so I have to go to the junior side. It's something to that we have to take, and never be the same at all the time. So what if you go there and that place too is also giving you, so you can always going up and down, up and down. So I believe you need to be a coach. If you are a coach, you are always a coach. So no matter how the situation will be, you stay in and you try to solve the problem.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's supposed to be the attitude of like anyone who wants to be in a better place. Is that how you have to take things?
Are you saying, John, that you think that that's how he could solve the problem? Is that just because it's one of the options? If I understand what you said, it's one of his options is to switch so that the varsity becomes junior varsity and junior varsity becomes varsity, and just switch the entire boat. And that was one of his options that was given. I don't know if that was what you were trying to say.
It could have been that one person, though, is really just creating the discord. You know, that's what he needed to find out is this everybody together can't make it work, or is this one person that somehow is the disruptor?
Right.
You know, because I think it would be a successful boat with, I mean, he, as a coach, he does have to look at their skills, but he also needs to look at how they work as a team, and that was the part that he was unwilling to fix.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, Benjamin, if this is part of the questions, but his three options at the end were switching the boats completely, varsity and junior varsity, switching individual members of the boats, or intervening to improve the varsity boat performance. And so those are kind of, I don't know if we're supposed to pick one of those or whatever, but I felt like he needed to intervene. Like that was the option that would work best, because the guys that were on varsity weren't there just because they were the best. They're also the most senior. They're, you know, they've earned the spot on varsity. And so I felt like they should have a chance to you know, win this race and to win this season. And so I didn't like the idea of switching the boats or switching individuals, even though that may have worked. I felt like he needed to intervene.
Yeah. This is tough because, I mean, it takes time, but it would sound nice or seem nice if you could just sit everybody down and then let everybody vent and then figure out what the problem was. But I'm not sure if that would be enough.
I especially if it had been groups of women, I would definitely say that's not going to work. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
When you start and get into accusations and venting and all that stuff, that doesn't help team morale. It really distracts everybody else down. I think really what the coach needed to do was focus on them working together, even outside of the boat. You know, they needed to learn to trust each other in other ways, because a venting time, especially if it had been teams of women, women don't forgive and forget, and would have just caused contention continuously. You know what I mean? And even some of the men would have been in the same boat. I really think that there had to be a way of helping them to trust each other that wasn't you did this or you didn't do that, or I'm carrying your weight or whatever. The accusations and stuff, that doesn't work, because they got to that point. And I really think by that time, it's time to just shut that team down and say, okay, well, see you later. Because now that we are blaming each other, the trust is even harder to build.
I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but I would put that team in a room and make them stay there until they were happy, because that's what I would do with my kids.
Put them in the corner.
So I don't know.
Until you hug each other, you're not coming out.
That's right. Yeah. Be a mom.
Maybe team building exercises would be the solution. It's interesting because these are like hardened military guys, and it's kind of interesting that they're kind of different.
But maybe that's one of their biggest issues is they're being taught to be independent, and they're being taught to be strong and tough, and what this team needs is people who can work well together. It needs the unity part, and I know that they can learn that in the military as well, but there's a part of this, and West Point is a university, so they're not that hardened yet. They're just young men, So I think maybe it's the individual's desire to be the best that's keeping them from being the best as a team.
Mm-hmm. My other thought about that is that, and I hate to put people in a box and say boys are boys and girls are girls, but I know that with my son and my husband, if there's conflict, they need to have some kind of physical release. There has to be some way to physically release that aggression.
They should beat each other up.
Yeah, I feel like those men need some way to physically conflict with each other, whether it's like laser tag or some way to, like, a team building physical thing where they can take out some of that aggression and become a team instead of just kind of nitpicking at each other or saying you did this or you did this, but some kind of physical altercation that's not harmful would be really beneficial for them.
Maybe like a sport where a lot of teamwork is involved,
yep.
like basketball.
Yeah. But no. But not rowing. Basketball would be great.
What they're normally doing.
Yeah. Okay. Something where they, and I don't know, that might be too much fantasy, but I feel like it helps with, I know it helps my husband and my son to have some kind of physical aggression way to get that out.
Yeah.
You have boys, right, Angela?
I know, serious. We get plenty of that going on at my house.
Oh no. No. Oh goodness. Are y'all ready to jump to another one?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Some of these are a little redundant, so I'm trying to find the best one. See.
No worries.
This is an interesting one. Is fostering competition between teams within the organization harmful to the organization?
I say no. I don't know. That's my first reaction was no.
I think it was beneficial to the JV team because they had something to strive for, but the expectation was lower. I think it was hard for the varsity team because they were not being successful and the pressure was on and continued to grow. That was hard for them. And I look at my kids, and if I can't have the same expectation in everything because they're all different. I think we have, so I mean, it depends. It was probably actually pretty good for the JV because they had nothing to lose, and that was their chant: nothing to lose, nothing to lose. That varsity team did have something to lose every time, and it was devastating every time.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good point. And maybe it hurt the team as a whole because it kind of fostered a little bit that individuality, like on the varsity team.
Hey, welcome.
Oh, hello. What?
Oh, Shell,
Is
is it Shelly?
is it Shelly?
It is Shelly. Hi.
Hi. Where did you finally
Sorry, I'm
find the
late.
link? I posted a couple places.
I went to the email
Okay.
and found it off.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Sorry. Benjamin was having some problems with his computer, and so I was trying to make it work, and then we made it work, and then it wasn't recording, so a couple different places to go.
No, sorry. You guys are great. I just barely got here, so I'm running a little behind.
No worries.
No, and it's okay. We've kind of had some technical issues.
Well, it's our first time.
Yeah, we've kind of jumped into the case now and introduced ourselves, but I guess we could do a really fast intro again, or to just like my name's Benjamin. I don't think you can see me because technology doesn't want to cooperate, but I'm from Mississippi. I enjoy hunting and things like that. I had a picture of a deer up there earlier.
Oh.
And I'm going to graduate at the end of the year. I've switched to entrepreneurial as my emphasis, and I'm enjoying it. So
Great. Nice to sort of meet you.
yeah, kind of. Talk to the wall.
Well, do you want me to introduce myself? Or
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm Shelly. I'm from Pennsylvania. I lived in Pittsburgh for about 12 years, but I'm originally from Washington State.
Okay.
I'm majoring in healthcare administration, mainly because I sort of got kind of lucky and got a job as an office manager. It's kind of makes you believe in God, how the story came about, but and so I'm just kind of now doing what I probably should have done in the first to get the job. Now I'm catching back up. So
where do you live now?
What I'm doing. Now I'm here.
Where do you live now?
In Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Do you want us to all introduce ourselves again, Benjamin?
If you'd like to.
Okay. I'm Tammy. I live in Southern California in Ventura. It's about an hour or so north of Los Angeles. And I have 2 kids. One is our son Cody is 22. He's on a mission in Cusco, Peru. And our daughter, who is 18, and she is in her 2nd semester at BYU in Provo, majoring in dance, dietetics, and minoring in business. So,
wow.
Very ambitious little girl. And I'm almost done. I have another semester. I just have to take an internship, and I don't want to, so I keep putting it off. So.
What are you majoring in?
Just applied management.
Okay.
I've been doing this for so long. It was what I could do the fastest. So I'm just, my goal was to graduate from college before my kids, and I missed. My son graduated in 3 years from BYU in Idaho, and then left on a mission. So he kind of beat me to it by about a year, and then my daughter just started. So now I feel like I have another 3 years.
Don't procrastinate.
I'm the worst. And I feel like I'm so old, I feel like I'm using somebody else's brain to do my work. And so it's hard. And I keep telling my kids, don't wait until you're 45 to do your schoolwork. It's too hard.
I can relate to that.
Right? It's so much harder than it was when I was 25.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it's not easy.
Anyway.
It's not easy. All right. I'm John. I'm from Ghana, West Africa.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And my major is administrative assistance. And this is my 2nd semester in the program. And well, I have married to Esther, and I have 1 boy.
Oh, that's good.
I'm in Ghana at the moment. I served mission in Nigeria, another West Africa country, and it has been a while, but I have actually taken upon myself a few callings over there. I was a year ago. I was serving as a bishop anyway,
Wow.
and yes, I was just released and to be called a member of the state presidency. So
Wow.
I'm now serving as a second counselor in my state presidency, and
Wow.
we are actually doing okay here, and we want to learn. That is my motive. We want to learn and improve on our day-to-day activities. Anyway, I'm into construction. I'm in architectural construction, and I do land surveying too. But I want to take this opportunity to learn and know certain things about the administration and how things are going on over there. So I'm okay. I'm okay. Since we are actually every day we are trading with a lot of people, as in stake and how we control. It's good that I will also learn human relationships, so I can actually combine everything. So I want to learn it. Yes, that is me.
That's awesome.
Okay.
My name is Angie Rice. I live in West Point, Utah.
Sorry if you.
That's all right. And I have 4 teenage sons. One just left on a mission in August. He's in Missouri. And I work in recreation, and I want to get done fast. And I got 3 years of college behind me back when I was young, and so now I just want to get done as fast as I can. So
I hear you.
yeah, and I've worked in recreation for a long time, and so I'm working on a recreation management degree just to get down and out. So anyway, I was recently called as the Relief Study president of my ward, so I'm trying to balance everything, and I haven't figured it out yet.
Oh, that's a lot of work.
Oh, anyway, so I'll figure it out eventually. So anyway, so do we want to work on doohickeys at all this time, or do we want to put that off for next time? What do you think?
It's my vote that we put it off and maybe meet twice next week. Maybe a short meeting for the doohickeys and then a longer meeting for our case study. That's my vote.
That makes sense to me.
I'm okay with it. That's fine.
Anybody else have an opinion?
Benjamin,
I'm also. I think. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think I have a slight program. I don't know whether we can, because at the moment, I'm in 12.
Oh gosh.
My time here is 12 a.m.
Oh
now.
my goodness.
Really?
So yes.
So you would rather
is,
have one meeting?
Idaho is we are ahead of Idaho 6 hours. So what I mean is that anytime like this, when we going to take the meeting by 5 o'clock in your time, it seems like I'm always going to stay overnight.
So, oh my goodness.
Well, what can we do to fix that? Can we meet earlier? Does anybody else? Oh, we lost Benjamin, huh?
But if that would cause any problem, I think I will always suggest it.
So you're I could earlier?
Yeah, earlier will be fine for me, but if not, it's okay.
Okay.
So
I could do earlier.
Okay.
I can be kind of flexible with my job, so that would work for me. How much earlier though? Because if you're 6 hours ahead of us, you'd want to be several hours earlier. I'm not so sure how. I mean, whatever we can do to accommodate. I would not be okay with 12 a.m. for myself. So.
Could we do like 2 hours earlier? Does that help you, John?
Oh, that will be fine for me. It means it will be 9 p.m. over here. It will be fine.
So if we did 2 hours earlier, that would be 3 o'clock Mountain Time, right? For
Yeah.
me, that's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is fine. Does that work
Is
for
it?
everyone else?
I think we better make sure that it's okay with
Benjamin?
yeah. I'm okay with it. I can adjust my work schedule to make it okay, but
What about Shelly?
she says she's okay.
Yeah, that puts me, if we started 2 hours earlier, that'd put me at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And I work till 5, so I'd be always jumping in kind of late.
Late.
So if everybody's okay with that.
What about 5:30 for you? Would that be better? Just an hour and a half earlier?
That'd be better. Yeah, that'd definitely be easier.
Okay.
You know, so
5:30 Mountain Time. Does everybody feel like that would work?
John, would that work for you?
What time?
If
5:30 Mountain Time.
Come again.
5:30 Mountain Standard Time. So that's an hour and a half earlier than what we're meeting now.
Oh, okay. But today, I think we met by 5 o'clock.
We meet at 5 now. An hour and a half earlier is going to be 3:30. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Yeah,
3:30 Mountain Time.
That is what I wanted to do. Well, we met today by 5 o'clock. So if it is 3:30, it's perfect for me.
3:30.
John,
okay.
Are you at your house, or do you have to travel somewhere?
Yeah, I'm in my house.
Okay.
Okay.
Right
So
now, I can't go to where I'm very good at the small one has already slept, so that is why I can. But if he's awake, like he will just make me have time to do the video.
Okay.
So so if it's going to be 3:30, I think it will be fine for me.
Okay. So 3:30. If I lead the discussion next week on the doohickeys and the case study at the same time, is that going to be too much? I can try to do it in an hour easy, but is that too much for everybody to do it at the same time then, so that John doesn't have to be on twice in the middle of the night?
That works for me. That's fine.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay. So I will plan on leading that next week at 3:30 on Thursday, 3:30 Mountain Time. I'm writing it down so I don't forget.
Me too.
And I will I'll let Benjamin know as well.
Okay.
So I'm very, very grateful that you have actually accepted. I said I'm very grateful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that will be okay for me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, well, just so you guys know, I just looked on, I don't know where Benjamin is, but I just looked on online to see what the actual taking over for him. The actual outcome
he's
of
around.
the case was. Are you guys interested in knowing what they did?
Say that again. Yeah.
Are you interested in knowing what they did on the case, Army?
Yeah.
Crew case? So I just looked online real quick to see. Oh, there, Benjamin's back. Okay, so what he did was he lined up the varsity crew into 4 pairs. He told them they're going to wrestle with no punching for 90 seconds. There were no clear winners. Each man was just his opponent was just as strong and determined as he was. The coach then changed opponents and had them wrestle again. By the 3rd round, they were choosing their own opponents. One guy would point at another and say, "You." Finally, one of the rowers started laughing, and they all piled into a general brawl. Eventually, someone said, "Coach, can we go row now?" From then on, the varsity boat flew.
Wow, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool? So,
yeah, you win. You were the one who said progression.
Hi, Benjamin. We lost you for a minute.
Yeah, my computer crashed again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll have to get a new one of these days.
So John let us know that it's midnight where he is right now. So we decided that next Thursday we would be at 3:30 Mountain Time. Does that work for you? That's an hour and a half earlier. that does.
3:30 will work. Yeah.
Perfect. And I will lead next week. I don't know if we need to decide right now who's going to lead every week, but I'll go ahead and lead next week, and then that'll give everybody kind of a chance to figure out the Creator Studio on YouTube.
Okay.
Does
I
everybody
like
know how to use that?
I didn't until you walked me through, but I've done Google Hangouts before, and it worked really well when whoever was in charge, like, you know how they do the video call thing and it just rings on your side. You know what I mean? So
I've never had it do that.
I just wonder if we try that. Like, if you Google call the group, or I mean, it's still in Google Hangouts, but you just call it does the video call.
That way?
Yeah, well, if you still probably have to set it up the same way as you did, but if you send it out instead of a link, if you do the call out, like the video call,
yeah,
and then it makes it ring almost like it's on a phone on your computer, and then you just answer it.
Okay. I'll definitely try that. If not, just look for a link in your email, probably 10 or 15 minutes ahead of time, and I'll make sure that I'm on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, I appreciate it.
We're thankful you know how to use all this.
Done it a couple times with this. You know what, discussion boards are my least thing with BYU Idaho, but these kind of meetings I really enjoy. So seeing all your faces and interacting with you is more my thing.
That's awesome.
The discussion boards are bleh, hate them.
Yeah.
All right. I will see you guys next week.
All right, thanks.
I will, Benjamin, since you were the leader, I will send you the link for this so that you can do your leader responses.
I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. My husband says goodbye.
Yeah. And next week, be ready to work on the doohickey problem too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, you missed that part. I'm sorry what you missed. We did talk about doing that as well. Okay.
Good.
Yay.
Yeah.
Have a good week, everybody.